If heading out for a big day in either just your local hills or even these mountains feels like a bit of a daunting challenge, then here are some great tips to make the process much, much simpler. Now, a cycling holiday in the mountains is on the bucket list for many riders. I have to say I'm fortunate enough to have been on a few of these holidays and I absolutely love them. The process for preparing for a big day in the mountains is pretty much the same wherever you are in the world, and they can translate over to preparing for a big ride in your local hills. Here are some great tips to make sure that you're going to have a massive day, but also a brilliant day on the bike. Now, as you might have guessed, tackling the climbs, and in particular these long mountains that we're in here, well, takes a bit of energy to get up them. It's certainly much harder than a flat ride of an equal distance, so you are going to be burning through those calories. It's a good idea to take some snacks with you, especially if you know that there's not going to be nowhere to stop on your ride. If you are going to stop on the ride, you can factor that in. You might not need to take so much, but as a rule, I've always got energy drink, I've got some energy bars, energy gels. That covers me for kind of how I'm feeling, whether, if stomach feels a bit upset or anything. Just having options and having plenty of energy with you is going to get you out of a pinch. Eating a little more breakfast is always a good idea in my books, and I love a big climbing day, simply for the excuse to pack away the porridge. If you're going to be burning the carbs, then it's a good idea to have a breakfast based on them. That said, everyone has their go-to food, and there is loads of nutrition advice out there. So I shall simply say that pancakes with bacon and maple syrup and a side of scrambled eggs on toast are my other favourites. Now, as you can see here in the Dolomites and in many not so mountainous areas, just hilly areas, even the Mendips is bad for this, the weather is really unpredictable. So make sure that you have clothing that you can put on. I've just got some leg warmers, a jacket here. I've also got some arm warmers underneath, something for my head. You don't need this much, but really make sure that you've got stuff that's going to get you out of a pinch, because if the weather comes in like this, it can be really grim doing a 9-kilometer descent. I speak from experience. Some solid knowledge of your route, the time it will take you, and the climbs that you'll be ticking off is the best way to ensure you know where you are on your route. This will give you a rough idea of how far there is to go, allowing you to plan when to stop for some food or even more water. In the high mountains, villages are sometimes a little sparse, so do some research if you're going to be riding in a new area. Find cafes and shops where you can stop for that emergency Mars bar and leg-reviving can of Coke. While a lovely Italian cafe is the ideal dream, it doesn't have to be fancy. I've been on rides where I've never been so happy to see a garage forecourt. Ooh, I think it's high time for one of Liam's top tips. If you're thoroughly done for and running on empty with a big climb to get home, acquiring a bag of jelly babies, opening the bag and popping one every few hundred meters is a very tasty way to pass the time while keeping your sugar levels high. Ideally, you're going to want to stop yourself from running yourself into the ground. Proper pacing is kind of important, especially if you've got a few climbs to get over. Taking the first one easy is quite sensible. And you can always push on later, especially if you're on the last climb before home. It's really time to ramp it up. A heart rate monitor is good for this, a power meter is even better. Sticking to zones 1, 2 and maybe even 3 is a great way to save your energy for later on in the day. The pros will generally, if they can, keep their power right into zone 2, and then when they want to push on, they can really make use of their top end. Now, I speak from experience when I say that riding up Sacalobra in Mallorca and then having to turn round at the top to deliver a single Allen key to a friend who was walking up the climb thanks to a snapped gear cable, well, that's no fun. Pushing him up the climb with my tiny arms was even less fun. A little bike maintenance goes a long way, so either check your bike yourself or book it into your local shop well in advance of your trip. It could save you or your friend a lot of pushing. Well, those are our top tips for having a great day out in the mountains. If you've got any top tips that you'd like to share, well, please leave them in the comments below. They could be really helpful to someone else. Remember to like and subscribe if you like this video, and check back on our YouTube channel for loads more like this.